It's time to review Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 for the PlayStation 2. DBZ 3 was the third game to be released in Spike's much-lauded DBZ simulator series Sparking/Budokai Tenkaichi and was released in 2007 for the PlayStation 2 and Nintendo Wii. To this very day, it's considered the last great hurrah for 6th generation DBZ games and one of the best Dragon Ball games ever made. As the up-and-coming Xenoverse threatens to take that title away from the looks of it, I think it's about the right time to review Sparking Meteor and see if it's really as good as the fans make it out to be. Let's go! As is the case with 95% of DBZ games, Tenkaichi 3 is a retelling of the classic anime in which Son Goku and friends protect the Earth and eventually the universe from demon kings, mercenary monkeys, effeminate galactic emperors, bug-eye monsters, and Arabian gum through a series of earth-shattering chaotic fights that would give those with severely weak constitutions a powerful enough heart attack that their whole body would explode. Dragon Ball Z Tenchi 3 is a fully free-roaming 3D fighting game where the goal is to defeat your opponent by using all the skills at your disposal. You move around the destructible battlefield with the left analog stick, dash towards your opponent while moving with the press of the X button, attack them with either melee attacks with the square button or ranged ki blasts via triangle, and can block your enemy's attacks by holding circle. However, you're not just any ordinary fighter since you have access to a whole range of otherworldly abilities, such as flying up and down with the hold of R1 and R2 respectively, charging up the yellow key bars on your HUD by holding L2, firing powerful super attacks with the simultaneous press of L2 triangle / up or down on the analog stick, and if you happen to be playing certain characters, can transform into a more powerful state with the click on the right analog stick. There's a lot more in the controls that could be discussed, but I believe it'd be a better idea to talk about the available gameplay modes to try out. In addition to Dragon History, which serves as the aforementioned retelling of the show, you also get the survival mode / pseudo RPG Ultimate Battle, a range of tournaments with different rules and conditions via the Dragon World Tour, your typical free battle duels with which you can fight one-on-one or with different teams of fighters up to 5v5, a training mode where you can learn the controls and put them into practice, and finally, Evolution Z. This is where you can upgrade each character via a trio of custom skill sets by adding stat bonuses, aesthetic add-ons, or add extra slots for customization by using Z points, which can be gained by doing pretty much anything. However, certain items, characters, and levels can only be obtained by finding the 7 Dragon Balls scattered about each level in Dragon History and summoning the Eternal Dragon Shenlong to grant you a wish to get those particular things. As you may have noticed from that description, the gameplay is actually quite bloody complicated, almost to the point of exasperating newcomers or those who prefer having simple gameplay. There's a heck of a lot of intricacies that either the game doesn't really communicate that well through the slideshow that makes up the tutorial, or was only really best learned from having played Tenkaichis 1 and 2. If you've played them, you're sorted, but otherwise this is not an easy game to get into, especially since it is quite difficult. Some will see this added level of challenge, even on the easiest mode, as a great bonus, but it will get very frustrating to be pounded into the ground time and time again by an unrelenting onslaught of attacks from countless enemies that seek to do your head in and send you into therapy, hopefully at the same time. Added on to the fact that some of the characters have limited fighting capabilities, such as the inability to fly for too long, or taking on giants who are impervious to most of your melee attacks, and you're gonna have a rough time. Besides that, the only other flaws rest with the retelling of the story, which ranges between the hilariously terrible thanks to the enjoyably rubbish English dub acting supplied by the ever-present Funimation cast, and the utterly incomprehensible due to not actually bothering to explain things to non-hardcore fans beyond little more than text preludes each fight and the vaguest of quotes shouted by off-screen characters. If you're looking to get into the series via this game, you are possibly mental, and I suggest you try literally anything else for your introduction. But with that aside, there is indeed a lot to like about BT3 that I would argue that it's fairly worthy of its reputation. Starting off with the technicals, BT3 has the best graphics out of the original trilogy, with solid character models, nicely designed backgrounds, and very cinematic attacks that are ripped straight from the anime and nicely animated enough to add a sense of grandeur to the chaotic battles that never ever slow down in frame rate. And though the localized soundtrack is nowhere near the eclectic delight that was Tenkaichi 2's musical score, nor does it have the iconic repertoire of the remakes to Shunsuke Kikuchi's OST from the Japanese version, the Americanized music here is a surprisingly decent effort that manages to capture the energy of the fights quite nicely, with a few very solid hits here and there to make it an overall enjoyable soundtrack. This is helped out by the ridiculous amount of both content and fan service available for fans and newcomers alike to try out. With over 150 characters across the entire bloody franchise, 30 plus stages and several different gameplay modes, you'll be a long while before you run out of stuff to do, if ever. And every single one of those things is filled to the brim with references and callbacks to the show through character costumes, background details, and even their fighting styles being influenced by how they were in the show and manga. The attention to detail in this department is simply staggering, and Spike should be rightfully applauded for putting so much effort into the fan service stuffed content. However, where Tenkaichi 3 truly earns its reputation is the gameplay, which, while not perfect, can veer on the damn fantastic at times. Taking lessons from the previous two games, the combat is faster, more fluid, and even more chaotic than ever before, with dozens of battle options such as stat upgrades, brief boosts of super speed, and so on to keep each and every fight from being completely predictable. This is helped by the fact that the AI can be a brilliantly magnificent bastard that can take the slightest moment of error and pull your head right through your arse. Add on destructive environments that can shake and tear at the ferocity of your battles, a wide variety of character archetypes to keep things interesting, and new mechanics such as supersonic dodging, and you've got not just one of the best recreations of any shonen anime, but a hell of a fun fighting game in its own right. In conclusion, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 is an especially good game with solid graphics, decent music, tons and tons of content, an extremely commendable amount of fan service for the fans, and some of the most cathartic gameplay in the Dragon Ball fighting series. However, it's not perfect thanks to a generally terrible retelling of the anime story, an occasionally frustrating level of difficulty, and mechanics that are often way too complex and obtuse for newcomers. If you're a fan of Dragon Ball Z, games with loads of content, or just ridiculously insane games that are still fun to play, check out Budokai Tenkaichi 3 and see what you think. In the meantime, I give it a rating of damn solid. A pretty damn good game with a few very good aspects and a couple of terrible ones. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go hide from the Spike haters and quietly hope that we'll get an offline demo for Xenoverse so I can see what all the fuss so far has been about. I'm Father Dougal 9000, and I hope you enjoyed watching my review for Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3 Sparking Meteor. Oh, feck me, this name's too damn long. Until we meet again, have a great day, y'all.
Don't get so carried away.